What's up? I'm Dan Fredenberg, and this is another Chance Encounter.
Hey, what's up? I'm Dan Fredenberg. I'm a commercial real estate guy. I'm from the internet. We're seeing more properties like this being built in front of a house that's going to be torn down soon. I understand that there are power lines that are getting kind of close. What's up again? This is Dan Fredenberg, and that there is a commercial real estate building.
I'm joined today with Sanjay Hegde. Hegde? That's my guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So it's short E's. Okay. Cool. Far out. How you doing today?
I'm doing well, Dan, and thank you for inviting me on your show. So I'm super
Excellent.
excited for this.
Beautiful, beautiful. And if you haven't noticed, my favorite audience member is here today. And why is my favorite audience member here? It's because this is a chance encounter where I interview commercial real estate investors. And why am I doing that? Part of it is because we have to. And then the other reason is because I want to know of the 5 different motivations I've found commercial investors have, which one best describes my guest. And then I go through the 6 different roles in a commercial deal and I say, hey, what's your core competency? What's your contribution most likely to be? But before we get too excited and into that, Sanjay, can you please introduce yourself to the audience, please?
Hello, my name is Sanjay Hegde. I'm the founder and president for Blue Ring Investors. And at Blue Ring Investors, we help people invest their money in real estate while, growing their wealth and saving on taxes.
All right, it's a beautiful thing. So let's go on to the motivation piece, which requires me hitting this and then hitting that. And then I go over here because I didn't plug in the other thing and I go like, all right, so here are the different motivations that I've found people have. I go through motivations first because even the newbies know why they're doing it, even though they won't necessarily have the core competency or know what role they're going to take. So the first motivation I found people have for wanting more acquisitions is they're trying to preserve their purchasing power. Okay. And what that means is, in general, if somebody relies on the cash flow that comes from their assets to make ends meet, when inflation rears its ugly head, you got to make some more acquisitions or else it's going to ruin the party. So that's the first motivation, but it's not my big one. My big one is trading time directly for wealth. And that's because I got a background in tech. In tech, you get high salaries, but you also get the heaviest form of tax, which is income tax. So I was going like, well, why am I giving away half of everything I ever make when I can pivot and make much better moves that way? So this is what I'm up to. But most people, they're trying to fast track retirement, or at least they're trying to gain back a lot of their time. Maybe it means that they're working fewer months per year, fewer weeks per month, fewer hours per week. Maybe they actually do want to move someplace once they become an accredited investor. They want to move somewhere where the cost of living is low. But that's the motivation there, as opposed to the next two, who they're going to keep on hustling into their 90s. Especially the first one, they're just ambitious. They want to buy their entire hometown. They want to get that generational wealth. They want to make sure that their great grandchildren never have to hold down a day job. And that's opposed to the last group, which is some people, instead of being specifically for their family or just to see how big of a nest egg they can accumulate, these people here, they found a section of society or the environment or animals or something like that, and they realize having those resources, it's by far the best vehicle to make a really big impact on society or whatever it is that you want to make a difference with. So of those 5 different motivations, Sanjay, what best describes you?
Well, actually, Dan, I'm a first generation immigrant to the United States. And when I first came to the United States, I actually didn't have the money to actually buy a house, right? So what do? You rent a house. And one of the main things that I have noticed is that when you have a family and you're raising a family, you want to have that family raise your family in a very secure and safe environment. Because it is known that children who are raised in a secured, safe environment turn out to be good, people for the society. And
Mhm.
that's how the society gets builds, So that is definitely one of the things that's close to my heart, because I want to build a community to actually do good for them, where they feel that their family is safe and it's a good environment to grow. So that is something that is very close to my heart. And that is one part of it. But yes, everything that you just talked about is important, because from an investor's point of view, inflation, right? Obviously, you don't have to worry about, like you would have to worry about if you are investing in stocks and bonds, because we can hedge our rents to the inflation. So, there is you're cutting down your losses right there. And absolutely, my most favorite is the taxes, right?
Mhm.
Why work so hard and pay everything to the taxes, right? When you have control over how you can give, like, every single person wants to give, but I don't want the government to tell me who they're going to give my money to, right? I want to be controlled. Like, I want to do good for the people, and that's pretty much it's not about I, it's or me, but it's very much like we as citizens are good human beings and want to do good for the society, but we want to be in control about who we help.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I know that one of the, like, that's also why charitable donations are tax deductible. I think the government knows that they're a blunt instrument, and the charities are better suited. They're more agile and nimble to make the kind of impact that the government, like, if that's what their main concern is helping people, they're going to do a better job. But yeah, that's I love that insight that you put out there, and I think that investors in general, our public relations, our PR, it needs a lot of work. I think we get blamed for a lot of stuff that the shoe doesn't fit, the glove doesn't fit, whatever you want to say. But let's talk about the roles. If you don't have a whole lot of experience in commercial real estate, this is going to probably be your favorite part. You can get your own Dan Does Deals commercial roll die from dandoesdeals.com. Okay, you can just print it out there. And I want you to do it so that you can effectively communicate on the topic of commercial real estate. And I go through this in every single chance encounter just because I want you to understand not only who my guest is, but how they fit in the business as a whole. So first, let's talk about what a repositioner is. So a repositioner is somebody who finds new properties. And when they find those properties, what's the first thing they're going to do? Well, there's a fancy word. It's called underwriting. Okay. And it means they're doing the math. The first math that they're doing is finding out if the building is actually making the amount of money that the seller says it is, but they're also repositioning to figure out how can we change this so we can get more upside, we get more cash flow coming out of this property than it is right now. And the main tools that repositioners have, the first one is more efficient operations. Make sure fewer of those Benjamins go down that toilet. But it's more than just unclogging toilets and collecting rent. It's also, there's a marketing piece, which is one of my fortes that I've been contributing. That marketing helps keep the vacancy rate low. But more efficient operations, that'll get you your upside. But right now, things are so hot, that's probably not going to be enough. So the repositioner uses their second tool, which is the contractor team, to do a value add or renovations. Those are the different words that they use for it. They're making the place nicer so that people will actually be fine paying more in rent at that particular location. So one problem with having the contractor team in this whole equation here is that if you're like me, from the internet, you're going to need a local. You're going to need boots on the ground, somebody who can be there in an hour or two, make sure that the contractors aren't cutting corners, they're meeting their deadlines, all that sort of stuff. Same with the operations. And those are the two tools that I was mentioning for upside that most people think of. There's another one, which is the financier side. So you can get better lending. But when you go to the bank, you go to the people who lend money, these financiers, and you show them, okay, here's the property and here's the team that I have and all that sort of stuff. They're still going to want to know one piece of information that I haven't mentioned yet, and that is who's the sponsor, who's the KP. And the way that works is, even if you are Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos or whatever, if you want to buy an apartment complex, let's say it's like 350 units or something like that, and you want to get a loan, somebody in the fold has to already own a similar asset. Okay. And then you're eligible for the loan if you have the proper amount of liquidity and a combined balance sheet of at least the amount of the loan. But if you have all 6 of those pieces, then you've got yourself a commercial real estate deal. So Sanjay, as far as core competencies, what you're most likely to contribute to your next deal, what do you do?
So Dan, that was a really good way of explaining it. It was amazing. I love the dice that you had. Yes, all valid points that you mentioned about. Now coming down to the core competencies, of course, as the name says, blue ring investors. So invest finance comes first, right? Absolutely, that is what we are focused on. Try to be the GPs in the GP and the KP level is what we bring to the table. But um, before you can get to that, I think repositioning is the key. Like what you said, underwriting, like understanding underwriting and putting a business plan together is the key, because that's what makes or breaks the deal, right? So that is definitely one of the things that I focus on. And anybody who's trying to get into this business, I would definitely say, hey, I know a lot of people don't like to do underwriting, but I would definitely say try to understand the numbers right, because that is what will take you to that next level. Obviously, asset management is another part of it, is something that I do, okay, as one of my competences. But the main part, the first 2 parts that I really focus on is underwriting first, because anybody comes to me saying, hey, Sanjay, would you like to sponsor this deal, or would you like to be part of this deal, raise capital or anything that comes with it? You need to understand where the person is coming from, or what was going on in his mind, and if the business plan even makes sense and the numbers put in. Because at the end of the day, underwriting is like a calculator, and it's how they say, right, garbage in, garbage out. So it all depends on how much of that is fluff, and understanding that is the key.
That's
I hope
beautiful.
I answered your question.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's like, well, one of the things that I like from some of the more experienced friends that I have, they say that even if you're a billionaire, you're always sourcing deals and you're always sourcing capital. There's like, that's just the nature of the beast. And I think that you explained that of yourself pretty effectively, about how you are the financier piece, but you're also the repositioner piece as well, because you have to do the arithmetic. So that's good stuff. But as far as an ideal property, when commercial real estate investors talk to each other and we say, okay, what's your buy box? What's your ideal property? They're really looking for 3, I say 3.5 things. The first thing is the geography. They're going to want to know the state, possibly the county, maybe even the neighborhood if they're familiar with it. So where is it? The second thing is going to be the unit count, okay? Unless it's industrial, that's the only form of commercial that I can think of that doesn't have a unit count. You're going to have a unit count even if it's self-storage or whatever. It's just how many units are you dealing with. But the third one, I say 3.5 because there's 2 different things with the exact same name, and I hate that, but it's called class. And there are 2 different meanings. One of them is, what's the neighborhood like? What's the crime rate like? How close is it to good schools? Okay, that's one meaning of class. And then the other one would be the state of the property itself. Like, is it beat up? Is it messed up? And for both of them, they use the same kind of rating system. Okay, so it'll be like B, B plus, A minus, and so on. So Sanjay, what's your ideal property where it's easier to say yes and it's more difficult to say no?
Um, the no is much faster for me to answer. So it's a D class property in a D class area, or a D class. That's pretty much what it is, right? So what do I look for? Is I look for, first of all, I look for properties in the red states. The number one is because the red states are more owner friendly than tenant friendly. So that's number one. Number two, I always look for is it has to be an emerging market, and where we are looking for, either, if at least it should be, that area should be in the path of progress at least. If not, it's in the emerging, right? So that's important for me. Obviously, B and C class properties in B and C class areas with some value adds, because I don't look for a complete flip. That's not what I do. I would like to have a property that is already cash flowing, and that way I can do some value adds to it, and bring it to the market rent and stabilize the property faster. That is what I'm looking for. I hope that answers your question.
Yep. So you mentioned the class, the geography. You mentioned the demographics of the geography, and I think anybody who's experienced will be able to read through the lines to figure out the places that you're talking about. But the other thing that I really love about commercial real estate, because it's so multifaceted, is that people are so helpful. So even if you are, the local or something, you're going to want to know some operators and all that sort of stuff. But we're better suited to help some people than others. Me personally, I'm better suited to help sponsors and KPs because of my digital and marketing background and chops. But without breaking any SEC restrictions, so you're not allowed to entice investors unless you have a 506C, and then you can just go ahead. But who are you best suited to help? Is it beginners? Is it intermediate? Is it people who are already involved? What role is the best person that you can help?
That's a very good question, Dan. So as we all know in real estate, that multifamily business is a team sport. So it's not like one person can do everything, even though they might be great at it. It's a team sport, right? So yes, I'm obviously, I cannot be in every red state if I want to be, right? So obviously there are the person who's there and has a deal and is the boots on the ground for me, but they have challenges with, say, the risk money, as we call earnest money, or because they're just getting started. I would love to work with them and help them as well, right? Because we all want to grow together, and the pie is big where we all can have a slice of it and still be happy, right? So that's there. Obviously, as I said, underwriting is definitely one of the things that is close to my heart. Like I do very well because of my previous background in growing businesses. It has, and strategizing. I'm good at putting together a business plan as well as doing the underwriting. So I'm good with numbers. So if somebody out there is just getting started and says, "Hey, I think I have a good deal, but I really don't know. Is that something that you can take a quick look at, Sanjay?" I'll definitely be more than happy to help them do that. Of course, my expertise, as I said, bluing investors, it's always about investing, and money is the thing, right? So if somebody wants us to come in and help them, be part of their team and take them to the finish line, obviously that is something that we would be more than happy to do.
All right, beautiful. And we ended up meeting through Vish Muni, and I've met him through LinkedIn and through the meetups and whatnot. What's the best way for somebody to reach out to you? Is it through LinkedIn, or do you have a website? Or go ahead.
All great places to meet. Obviously, my website, www.blueringinvestors.com, is a best place to go to because there is a lot of literature in there that actually educates my investors or anybody who's just getting in and doesn't have an idea about, hey, what syndication is about. So I have lead magnets in there that people can actually, download. It's free and they can read through it. The next way is I'm very active on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, as well as we are making YouTube videos that is already up there on for Bluring Investors. And very soon we are starting, my partner, Dr. Jeanette, and I are starting off with a webinar series, which is going to be more of educational for doctors as well as,
High earning professionals and whatnot.
exactly, like busy professionals who would like to know more about what is it to invest in a syndication.
Beautiful, beautiful. And you were mentioning the YouTube channel, and if you don't know, there is a great way to help YouTubers, and I happen to be one as well. So if you look like under my left hand, okay, don't look too carefully, especially if you're on a desktop, because there's this this ugly, ugly, ugly red button. And the only way to get rid of this red button is to click on it, and it turns gray. And you gotta see the gray one. The gray one looks so awesome, okay? And maybe I'm biased because I know that the gray button means that YouTube pays for these videos instead of me, but I don't think so. I think the red button's just ugly. If you're on a phone, it just says, it's just red letters. It says subscribe, but you should hit it because it's free. then it means that YouTube pays for these. But what it really does is it means that these videos might show up on your list of suggestions. There's no guarantee of that because that's how social media works. But you don't even have to watch those because you'll have already done me an enormous favor. Just like Sanjay, you've done me an enormous favor by joining me today. This has been fantastic.
No, you did the same thing to me by inviting me to your show. So I appreciate that.
Awesome. Thanks a lot.